The crisis in the People's Democratic Party, PDP, came to a head yesterday following the resignation of 7 of its deputy national officers over what they termed poor leadership in the party. The officers who resigned alleged a lack of financial transparency in the leadership of the party, adding that they will not be able to work with the current National Working Committee, NWCA. However, at the root of this crisis is the battle for the control of the PDP ahead of the 2023 general election. Several fingers are pointing in the direction of Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State, who has made no attempt to hide his dissatisfaction with the national chairman of the PDP, Uche Secondus. The Rivers governor is said to be spearheading a campaign to house the national chairman before the end of his tenure. Speculation is rife that should Wike succeed, this will pave the way for the Rivers governor to pursue his political ambition to contest for either the presidential or vice presidential ticket of the PDP before the elections in 2023. But in an effort to douse tensions, the PDP Governors Forum yesterday said it has scheduled an emergency meeting. The forum also appealed to all aggrieved members to remain calm in the face of recent developments. To discuss the political undercurrents leading to the divisions in the main opposition party, we are now being joined from Jos in Plateau State by Mark Jacob, former national advisor of the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, and former Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice in Kaduna State. Good morning, Mark Jacob. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning.
Well, the PDP. First, it was the defections of governors and other members of the party. Now, it's about leadership crisis and members of the National Working Committee leaving the party. What exactly is the problem? Is it truly, as alleged, the fallout of the conflict between the Rivers State governor and the chairman of the party? Or is this simply about lack of financial transparency as alleged, or something else, maybe perhaps the 2023 general election, as I pointed out in the introduction?
Thank you very much, Dr. Abati. The reality is that individual interests are taking supremacy and are dictating what is happening. Either you talk about the defection of governors, the internal crisis within the leadership of the PDP at the national level, and even some crises you find in some states. All of them have their roots in the personal selfish interest of stakeholders as envisaged towards 2023. It's not really about providing good leadership. It's not about providing a virile, sensitive, responsible, and attractive opposition. It is simply how individuals are struggling to take charge of the process of emergence of political office holders in 2023. It has nothing to do with providing good governance or transparency. Everything revolves around personal, selfish interests of people. And that is very unfortunate because the country, as we have it today, completely been misgoverned. The economy is in shambles. Insecurity, particularly where I am today, is completely at its highest. Nigeria has never been traumatized like it is today. And unfortunately, the PDP that ought to take advantage of these issues and canvass them to the public and attract attention and followership is busy scrambling over things that are not available. The positions people are looking for. If the insecurity escalates, people will not be there in 2023 to contest election, for God's sake. If the killings and the wanton kidnappings and so on that are going on, if they escalate, there will be no election in 2023. So when people are busy approaching the mundane instead of concentrating on the very things that Nigerians are disturbed about is a very big disappointment. Currently, it's unfortunate that the leadership at the national level also has allowed things to get out of hand because there are issues that one cannot also sweep under the carpet. But the system, the structure of the PDP is such that all those issues could be handled either at the neck level or the caucus level, or specialized meetings could be called to address the grievances of people. I think one of the issues is that people will complain and they will be ignored. And that is not good in any democratic setting. So what is happening, like I said, is first of all, a product of selfish individual tendencies and nothing more.
Mr. Jacob, I presume as the former National Legal Advisor of the party, you are familiar with the party's constitution and how it conducts its operations. And so I just want you to clarify some issues these 7 members raised. They say they have been treated as appendages. They are not allowed to attend the meetings of the NWC. And since they were elected in 2017, they have only had meetings with the national chairman, Prince Uche Secondus, 3 times. At their own behest. Is this unfounded? Are they allowed to attend those meetings or not?
The deputies under the PDP constitution are not members of the NWC. Of course, if there is a vacuum, they occupy it. So regularly, the normal meetings of the NWC do not include them. They know this one. And for God's sake, if you were elected in 2017, we are in 2021. You have never complained. You have never insisted or gone on air like we are hearing now. What happened today? Why have you been quiet since 2017? I am a member of NEC. Nobody has ever brought these issues. I attend NEC meetings. We have never had this type of complaint. So why suddenly now, when we have just a few months to the expiration of the tenure of Secondus? I have my issues personally with the current leadership and their style. But the truth remains, people should be fair to everybody. If you had a complaint, you are entitled to raise it at the appropriate time. From 2017, this is 2021. Nobody had any complaint from you until day before yesterday. There is something that they are not also saying.
All right. I'd like to ask, who is trying to hijack the party? A name was mentioned yesterday, and they talked about how he had doled out a lot of money, which I am shocked at the extent of money he had doled out. Who is trying to hijack the party? Who is this elephant in the room that wants to take the soul of a party that is supposed to be democratic and free for all, and it should have its own internal party mechanism? Who is this person, or who are this group of people? Do you know those interests?
You mentioned that the name was dropped yesterday. The name, which name was dropped yesterday?
We'll come back after the break and talk some more, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, welcome back. We still have Mark Jacob, former National Legal Advisor of the People's Democratic Party and a former Kaduna State Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice. And we're still talking about what is happening in the PDP and political parties at large. Like I asked before, I said, who's this big elephant in the room? You want to tell us?
I think you said the name was mentioned in the discussions. What name was mentioned, sir?
What name was mentioned, sir? It's the name of a certain governor of a state that has doled out hundreds of millions to various state governors. Sir.
Well, luckily I'm not a state governor or a member of the NWC, so I am not aware of the distribution. But look, frankly speaking, every political party exists out of interest. And interest will always play out in everything. So there is really no way you can rule out the effort of individuals to assert themselves. And every moment there is going to be an election or a convention, issues like this arise. And you keep hearing, I am a voter, and we are hoping to vote in the next convention of the PDP for either the continuation of the current executive of the party or a new one. And as a statutory voter, nobody has approached me in anticipation of the next election. And the mechanism put in place by the PDP is so that it's difficult for an individual to sit down anywhere and think that he will dictate what happens at the convention.
No, but that's what Governor That's what Governor Wike is doing now. That's what Governor Wike is doing now, that people have confirmed. Now, you say the mechanism of the party doesn't allow for somebody dictating and for the party. But a lot of these party members are saying that he doesn't want Uche Secondus, who is the incumbent party chairman, there to continue. That's what is happening. So somebody is in charge of your political party.
That is purely his personal decision or ambition. And there is no wrong in that ambition. It's not wrong to have that ambition. Whether it will succeed or not is another kettle of fish. People, hundreds of people, unlike other political parties, in the PDP, hundreds and thousands of people will come together to cast their vote. And I wonder how many millions he has that will go around. Like I said, I'm a voter. And until I resign, nobody can take my vote. And nobody has approached me in any grand design to either remove or sustain Secondus. And like I said, the convention of the PDP is just a few months away. And if somebody has an ambition to unseat Secondus, he has to follow the structures. He has to follow the mechanisms put in place. But like I said, there is nothing wrong in having an ambition to unseat anybody. But really, can you succeed by sitting in one place and doling out dollars? It won't work. It will not work.
Yesterday, Kola Olobodiyan, in responding to the development, that is the resignation of the 7 deputy national officers, said that the party is going to put in place an internal dispute resolution mechanism. How strong is that dispute resolution mechanism? And what are your expectations, considering the fact that, look, this is not the first time the party will have this kind of major crisis. You'll recall that before the 2015 general election, some governors, in fact, walked out of the convention of the party in Abuja and went away with their supporters, and they never returned to the party. One of the reasons, perhaps, why the party lost in that 2015 general election. What are your expectations this time? What is the nature of that internal dispute resolution mechanism, and what do you think will happen at the end of the day?
I mentioned it at the beginning of this discussion, that the structures and mechanisms existing within the party are sufficient to take care of all internal wranglings and complaints. I think the National Working Committee has been sluggish in activating some of these mechanisms of dispute resolution internally. That is why we are where we are. The party has sufficient mechanism of dispute resolution. Now, you mentioned the walking away of 5 governors. Yes, that was a very terrible occurrence, and anybody interested in pure democracy and sustaining the party, for instance, must take steps to prevent a recurrence. People have a right to have grievances, and if they have grievances, the party must, as a matter of necessity, and by virtue of the operations of the Constitution, listen to grievances. A situation where you ignore people or tell them to go to hell is unacceptable in democratic practice. And that is what I think has happened, that people will be complaining, raise issues, and they will be ignored. The mechanism of addressing these issues exists, and they only need to be activated. Like I said, maybe it's coming a bit late, otherwise nobody ought to hear some of these things that have been canvassed currently. The issues of internal financial misappropriation or whatever. We have auditors in the party, internal and external. Have they been invited to the books of the party? We have the National Executive Committee of the party, NEC, which is supreme to every other person, including the National Working Committee. Has NEC been approached with these grievances? Sometimes people just sit and do nothing and grumble. But like I said, there are structures that can take care of each and every situation of grievance.
But do you think the chairman of the party, Uche Secondus, will survive this? Because this looks like a rebellion against him. And those who are rebelling, they are not hiding behind their fingers.
Uche Secondus will know his fate very soon, because the party also provides for how the sitting national chairman can be either removed or replaced. In fact, unless he decides to resign, it is difficult to get him removed without following the laid down provisions of the Constitution. And in the past, people were either coerced or encouraged to resign when issues became very unbearable. But today, people have waited since 2017 to begin to raise complaints. And we have a few months to the convention where the convention can replace or remove or sack anybody. Why not wait for the convention and use all the powers you have? If you know you are very confident that you can galvanize sufficient support, it can be done by the proper organ of the party. And that is my advice to anybody who wants to either unseat the current national chairman or replace him. You cannot do it by force. You cannot do it using a handful of people. You can't. The party, that is why the PDP has survived. Even when the 5 governors walked away, it may interest you to know that after 2015, many of them have found their way back. The former Senate president is one of them. Tambuwal is one of them. All of them walked out, but they came back. The structures of the PDP are so strong that you cannot pocket this political party. No individual can do it. Others have tried and they have failed. You can try it maybe in your small corner, a local government, or maybe the state, but you cannot have the capacity. Nobody has that capacity. No matter how many bullion vans he carries, nobody has been able to pocket the PDP as a national organ. It's difficult because of the structures spelled out and founded in the constitution of the party. Whether people like it or not, they must go to that convention. And that convention will determine the fate of everybody.
Well, thank you very much, Mark Jacob, for joining us this morning on The Morning Show.